there's not a better time for MOC Shivasu to jump in. All right, people. So here I am. Namaste, hello, hola, salam alaikum, sat shri akal. How have you been, people? Use your chat windows and emojis to tell me, how do you feel so far about Phoenix Literature Festival going on? Yes, let's make everyone alive once again. Please type in your chat windows, how are you feeling about the Literature Festival so far? Perfect. All right. I am looking for more words. Awesome, Rahul Sharma. Okay. Incredible is the word from Haritosh Shrivastava. Awesome. All right. Now, by this time, I'm sure most of your backs are hurting. The lunch has started bloating and your seat is radiating heat, if you know what I mean. So let's do a quick shake-off activity to rejuvenate ourselves, okay? So if you can, stand up on your seats, not literally on your seats, but stand up from your seats, or even, you can do this exercise even while sitting on the chair. Let's get up from our seats for that matter, okay? And then do 8 times shake-off on the right hand. Okay, people, let's all switch on our cameras for an interactive session. Let's do it quickly. All right, so let's start. Everyone is with me? Okay, I can see some prompts. I'm not sure. I can see Vandita. All right, so let's start with this activity. Shake off your right arm 8 times. Okay, let's do it 8 times and 4 times and 2 times and once. Okay, let's start with 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come on, I cannot see you, Vandita. I cannot see your hands. Come on, people. Switch on your videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Now, right leg 8 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Let's do it 4 times. Let me see people doing or not. Let's do it 4 times now. Show me that you're doing it. Come on, people, switch on the cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's nice. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. 1. 1. 1. All right, people. So here we are. Starting the second half of the session, not exactly second half, I would say the third, the quarter between second and third, to be very precise. All right, so how did you enjoy it? Got energized? Kindly unmute yourselves if you have the permission to do so, or just use a chat window to say, yes. Energized?
Yes.
All right. Fully energized. All right. I'm not sure how many of you are energized. You enjoyed it, but I enjoyed looking at you people doing this thing so crazily. So thank you once again for being with me. And now is the time to start with our next session. Yes, with the razor sharp focus now, let's move on to the next event of the day. Panel discussion on the impact of social media on reading. And to moderate this, we have with us an extremely versatile person, Shweta Rohira. Shweta Rohira, a noted influencer and expressionist who uses 3 forms to express: acting, writing, and painting, has painted a lot of cafes in Maharashtra and around. And is a theater artist who has done 2 plays, That's My Girl and Blind Date, and a couple of short films as well, to name a few: Spotless, Zarina, Pariniti. She has written a book called Filmy Chick Psycho Filmizing Life. Oh my God, that was hard to pronounce. Without a delay, let's call Shweta Rohira on the stage. Yahoo!
Everyone, I'm so glad to be a part of this festival today, and I'm so looking forward to get started and ask questions and know all about the impact of social media on reading. Hello Neil, hello Shiva, hi everyone here.
Hi Shweta, so nice to see you on screen.
Hello, hi Shweta.
Hey Shweta, hey Neil.
Hello, Darshan.
Yeah,
Darshan,
good to see you guys.
are you here? Are you lost?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I kind of jumped into the wrong room before or something like that, so I had to switch again back to
Oh,
this room.
there was some horror story happening since Neil is here, so automatically
Yeah.
Yes,
spooky
these
things are
kind of
going
things keep on
on.
happening when I'm around, so be careful. We have half an hour with me, and this is going to be we don't know what can happen.
Oh, the disclaimer is already here.
Yeah, right up front and center.
So before we get started, I know everyone knows you're here, but I would like to introduce both of you, Darshan Mondkar and Neil. So let me just give a short introduction because if I give a long one, our entire session will be over. So to begin with, Darshan, a master narrator, Darshan Mondkar is here and has the ability to create fictional characters to almost dance alive vividly to readers' mind. Oh my God. Do you want to dance and show us before I continue further to
No,
just
it's my characters that dance.
live? Also, I can't hear you, Darshan.
Oh, okay. I said it's my characters that dance. Not me.
Oh,
I don't dance much.
I thought there's some dancing happening like how we were just doing, before we started.
No.
So, like everyone knows, it is your tales that turn the political and social into personal. And moving to Neil, Neil is known as the famous name in the Indian literary world. He's published with the leading publishers such as Penguin, Random House, Rupa Publication, Hatchet, among others, and has won screen adaptation deals on 4 of his books. He has been named as one of the top 7 Indian horror writers by UK Decibel's magazine. Neil is the president of India chapter of Horror Writers Association. He was a winner at the Delhi Literature Festival short story competition of 2015, and that was co-hosted by Authors Inc. publication and Inside Stories. And now I need to breathe. Welcome both of you on this
Thank you
session.
so much. Thanks. Very
What
glad
is-
to be here.
we are discussing the impact of social media on reading habits on a social media platform.
The irony of it, right?
Totally. So, let's begin with a very random, the first important thing. Social media is killing the book reading habit. What do you have to say about this, Darshan?
Well, I don't think so. To be very honest, I think social media has changed the reading habit, not killed it completely. The way we used to read, I've been an avid reader right since my childhood, and the way we used to read then and the way we are used to reading now has changed completely. From the point of view of the diction which is used by the writers to the subjects which are being tackled these days, that has completely changed. So I don't think it is really killing it as such, more like changing it. Some claim that it is dumbing it down a bit, but fair enough. At least we are getting more readers now.
Neil, your take on this?
See, I take it from the perspective of storytelling. Now, storytelling is what we all do, whether it's fiction or even non-fiction that we write. In a way, we are telling stories. And what our readers are doing is they are consuming those stories. So over the ages, the format in which the stories have been consumed has changed. It used to be an oral tradition first, and then we had, handwritten papers, and then we had the printing press being developed, invented, and then we had books. And after books, there came Kindle, and now we have the social media where the information is being shared in an electronic format. So, though the format has changed, what has not changed is storytelling and story consumption. And that is one thing I believe will always stay. Of course, its avatars will change, its versions will change, and we will have different kinds of storytelling. And we actually welcome them, don't we? Because you know what? I can take the example of Black Mirror on Netflix. What it did in one of the episodes was to have a story where the viewers could actually pick up a choice and the story would go on as per what the viewer wanted. Now, that was a fantastic new dimension to the art of storytelling. So, overall, by and large, and even as an author, I can say that, I'm very thankful to social media. It's because social media is here that we have so many readers today, and it's become more easy to publish and to also interact with the readers. In olden times, how it was, we did not know who the authors were. And the authors was, we had a vision that authors would be somebody who would be secluded in a closed room, sitting isolated, cut off from the entire world. And there they would be hacking over at their typewriters or whatever, and they were mostly considered to be unapproachable and unattainable people. But now what has happened is, being writers ourselves, we know that it is easier to publish. And there is a great deal of fun in interacting with readers. And this is possible only through social media, because social media is a place where a reader, if he or she has liked something that I've written, or even not liked, they can easily send me a DM, they can easily send me a message, and they can share it on social media, and the word spreads. For us, who are basically shy people, who do not mingle much, who do not like to shout out about our books, this is a blessing. So what I believe, to just summarize this topic that you have raised, that social media is killing the book habit, I think not killing per se. Maybe, yes, the traditional consumption of paperbacks has reduced. Probably that is what is happening, because I don't think the current generation has that kind of patience to wind through pages of very long books. But at the same time, we have social media translating our books in various formats, like we have OTT films and series and podcasts. Also, we have stories on so many different storytelling platforms. So our stories are being consumed, and that is where we are happy.
That's a superb take, but there are also some negatives, because there is a pro, there is a con. So, Darshan, do you think that socialization, social media is also having some negative impact on reading?
Well, a little bit of a negative impact, but I mean, it's difficult to call it negative. What I would say is that the language has gone down. The level of the language being used has gone down. I used to rush to a dictionary when I was a kid to find out meanings of the words that I was reading in the books. Now I don't. The language is simple. But on the other hand, this simple language has gotten more readers. There are people who struggle with English who are reading English books now. People who struggle with other languages who are reading, especially like language like Hindi. But so I wouldn't really call it negative from as Neil said, strictly from the storytelling and story consuming point of view. It might be negative from the English literary world kind of view. That's
True.
fair enough. So we don't use that kind of language which those authors use then. I'm not talking about the Indian authors. The language has been the level of the language has gone down throughout the world.
True.
It's like international novelists have they have recognized that their audience needs simpler language. You don't rush to a dictionary every time. You just have to sit with the book and finish it off. But then most of the popular books were with simple language. So yeah, it's negative from the literary point of view, not from the point of view of reading the books or writing them. I think it helped actually.
Neil, like you just said, that, thanks to Kindle and so many other things, even the spread has been more and people are reading. But because they are on a gadget, that gadget also has other social media platforms. So the distraction is way too much. Usually when a person sat with the book, he or she was totally immersed in that book. Right now, while they are on Kindle, you would get a notification from Facebook that we are going live, and they might leave that book and they would be here on our chat. So how does one develop a habit of not reducing their habit while being on a gadget and reading?
And that is very true, Shweta. That even for me as a reader, that is true. Because when I'm reading on my Kindle and suddenly a phone notification pops up, I am tempted to, stop that book and go and read it. But I think this distraction of social media, that is the biggest con that we have today, because social media is a platform which is open to so many different diversions. So many things are going on your screen at the same time. It is not just that novel which you're reading. So I think, this is also a test for us as an author. Like, how riveting can you make your book? Because if your story is that kind of, grappling, if it can grab the attention of the reader, then the reader may not jump to the other window, or may at least, spend that amount of time which is required to reading. So that is it. See, I have two kids. So I know how difficult it is now for this generation to be put into the habit of reading. It is extremely difficult. Forget reading. Even when their online classes are going on, it is very easy for them to just go scroll the window and go somewhere else. So that is very easy. So when this is happening in the educational system, reading is quite far apart. So there is something that we must do as authors to write such fabulous books, I think, which can hold their attention. I think another thing that is there, which I would also like to add to what Darshan said about the overall, the language going down. So I agree totally with that, because that is happening. And maybe that is one of the reasons, or that is one of the ways in which authors are trying to engage the audience, probably. Because, when in the olden days, when Charles Dickens used to write or Jane Austen used to write, they were not so much connected with their readers. They did not know what actually the readers wanted. Probably only 10% of the people actually read their books in those days. Today they are classics, I understand that. But in those days, the masses did not read it even at that time. Or probably they did because there was nothing else to do, right? So at that time, they could get away with a language which was at a higher level, which required people to run to a dictionary or a thesaurus. But today, if we do that, the people, the readers, will simply shut the book. Why do that headache? Why have that? So that is the reason I think authors, largely, they're dumbing down their language. This is happening. And it has started, we know, from the 90s, even before social media came. I will not name it, but you know who brought that revolution. The Revolution 2020. So when that happened,
like this, ki by mistake bhi naam nahi bol do.
So that when that happened, no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I actually admire Chetan Bhagat, because he brought so many people to reading, which was not happening before. So he understood the pulse of the audience, isn't it? So I think we need to do that now. We also need to understand the pulse of the audience. And maybe we need this generation ka Chetan Bhagat now. The person who will make people keep their other distractions on social media aside and focus on reading books. So that will happen. We need a person who can bring that revolution. So that is what CB did even back then, because that time also people were so much into academics. They were not reading anything except their school and college textbooks. And novel reading was something like, oh, we will not do it. But then Chetan Bhagat came with his books rather, One Night at the Call Center and 5 Point Someone. And when they came, even the least common denominator started reading it. So that kind of thing. And they kept everything aside and read it. They forgot their exams and read it. So, wo abhi hona chahiye. That kind of thing has to happen now, where people will shut their Facebook and Instagram and everything else and focus only on their Kindle. So we need a book like that. We need an author like that.
Since we're talking about that time and those books and which have pushed people to read, nowadays a lot of adaptations are happening. And again, social media is taking away from reading, because people, oh, this is going to be adapted into a movie, so hum 2 ghante ki movie dekh lenge rather than reading it, because back then adaptations were very few. So, people would go back and read. But right now, at the scale, the Netflix, Amazon, and all of it is there. There is a lot of scope. Lot of adaptation is happening. Obviously, it's very good for writers, because you know that somewhere the monetizing happens, because otherwise writing a book really can't make you buy a cycle. But it takes away the reader, because the reader knows, oh, this book is doing well. In no time, I'm going to see it on a movie. So I rather not read. What do you all have to say on that?
Well, see, there are like two types of books that go to a movie. One is a book which is written and then is adapted. Another is a one which is written for a movie. Now, when a book is adapted, I think most of the readers, at least most of the hardcore readers, prefer reading the book. And then it's fun comparing the movie and the book, and then, sort of, this is better, that one is rubbish, or whatever it is. The books which are meant for the movies, the book which are written for movies are, I don't know, I have personally never bothered reading them much. I see the movie. So I'm like every other person who says, I might as well watch this on Netflix. So yes, that's an absolutely correct point. Something to do with the attention deficit that comes with what Neil was talking about when you're into reading. So with a movie, you're like, I don't like this scene, I forward it. You can't really forward passages or paragraphs or chapters of an entire book. So yeah, but still, to get back to your question, a book which is written as a book then gets adapted always has its popularity. Even today, the book is read, so that still remains.
Neil, your take.
My take is first I'll take on a point that you said. You said that it is good for us because monetization happens. So yes, that is true, very true. The rewards of a book being converted into an audiovisual format, they are immense. And apart from the monetization, I see it also as a way of engaging a whole different audience base. Because people, those who will not have read the books or those who are not readers, they will also be consuming my story. So that is what makes me more happy, happier than the money that is coming in, because that is a thing that comes and goes. But what happens is, you are getting another dedicated audience base. So as an author, I'm speaking from an author perspective. Now talking about what you said, that about the OTTs taking the books. And I agree with Darshan that there were two kinds of books, one written for writing the book's sake and the other written especially for being an audiovisual adaptation somewhere down the line. So there were two kinds of books, I agree. But the thing that I wanted to talk, sorry, I lost my thread somewhere there. So the thing is that when we write a book, we give it our all. And, I'm a kind of a visual writer. So when I'm writing, I don't write books, especially thinking that, okay, it will go to screen. When I wrote my first, second, third books, I did not have that in mind. But then, when the deals start coming, slowly your thought process changes. And then you start thinking ki one day probably somebody will ask me that if I want to adapt this, then how do I adapt the scene? So automatically your thinking becomes visual. And I think that helps. That helps because today our topic is about social media and stories being told on it. So this is definitely an extension of it. And it is a plus point for authors. I don't see a negative for authors in any way. The only thing is, we are probably not writing in words as much any longer. We are also writing in terms of visuals and scenes. And it's also good to tell stories that way. So it's an all-in thing.
Like we are saying, it's an all-in thing for authors because the adaptations is happening, stories is reaching to a lot more audience because the ones who don't read are definitely watching the story. So the whole idea where an author actually writes is for telling the story, because at the end of the day we are storytellers. So social media is also helping all of us to connect, like the writers connect, the readers connect with their writers, like you mentioned, they DM, they write their reviews, and we can also promote our books. But this is also increased where earlier, when a reader used to read and write or connect with the author, there was a kind of balance. Which today, many a times, when a person is reading and giving the reviews, your reviews are going way too far. So you have on Goodreads a review, you have a book blogger on Instagram, on Twitter. There are different reviews on different platforms. So, what do you have to say as an author when it comes to that? Obviously, the more the people read the book, it's better. But taking in those reviews from like such a lot of people at different platforms is what is it for you all?
I like my negative reviewers also. I even like them because finally those are people who have read the book and made a mind on that book, and they have decided to come and spend a few minutes telling that this book sucked. So even that is a good thing. And just imagine a book which has all positive reviews. So, readers are very clever nowadays. And
Yeah.
when they come to a page, an Amazon page of a book, and they see that all reviews are 5-star reviews, they know that some hanky-panky has gone on there. So, that's what I feel. What do you think, Darshan?
Well, I think all reviews are good. I mean, even the negative reviews are good. Those written sincerely. I mean, as an author, you can make out
Yeah.
a review which has been written sincerely and a review which has been, written just because they don't like you or something like that. But all reviews should be are perfectly okay. Uh, Personally, I mean, the review again, it has to be about the book. So an author doesn't need to take it personally. That's one thing. It is written a book and the audience has paid, the reader has paid for it, right? So he has got every right to speak out how he feels about it. So yeah, don't let it impact you. That's the whole thing. Don't let the negative reviews impact you. Other than those reviews on Amazon, which are like unverified purchases, which are not verified purchases. They just like say something on Amazon. They haven't read the book, not a reader. So no, don't read it. Don't read the reviews.
So, I write horror, right? So because I write horror, horror is a genre that attracts the extremes in all ways. So even in reviews, you will see that. Some of my reviews go really rank bad, but there was this one instance when I released a book, I self-published it. I put it on Amazon and it just got published. And 10 minutes later, there was a review for that 1 lakh word novel. This book sucks, within 10 minutes. So we knew that was a spite review. We got that review was removed later on because, of course, it is a clear case of spite. But these kinds of things also happen. So obviously, Darshan, when you say that reviews even if negative reviews, they are constructive, they are well-meaning. You can take something from it. But then you can understand what reviews are written out of pure spite, and that happens. Social media is such a platform, if you go to Twitter and places like that, you will see the vitriol just pouring out.
Oh, they'll kill you. They'll kill you.
So that
it does become an acid attack platform sometimes, the amount of things that they have to say, it's like literally pouring acid in those minimum characters.
Yes. So as an author, I never promote my books on Twitter. On Twitter, I just talk about, okay, this is a new release or this is some announcement. If I have to do, I go on Twitter. On Twitter, I'm very active and the writing community is excellent on Twitter. But on Twitter, I will never directly talk about my books. I will promote other people's books on Twitter. I'll retweet other people or I'll do that kind of thing. So Twitter is fantastic for building networks because it's a social media chat. I think we should put this out here. So Twitter is wonderful for, building your network, for connecting with producers, publishers, literary agents. That is the fantastic aspect of Twitter. But if you actually want to connect with readers, then Instagram is the place. The Bookstagrammer community on Instagram, the genuine ones I'm talking about, because there have a lot of people who don't really read. They just like to pose, but you can make that out. Yeah. So, the Instagram community, I love them because they are so prolific. When a new book comes and, if suppose the cover catches their eye, this happened with my book, Yakshini. So when Yakshini came out, the cover just caught the eye of the Bookstagrammers and there were like hundreds of pictures and beautiful ones. So many people cosplayed it, they dressed up as Yakshini and all that. And reels nahi tha us time par. If Reels was there in 2018, then I would have gotten a lot of reels for Yakshini. So I love Instagram for its visual take on promotion. Facebook, I used to be very active on Facebook. Even now I am. But now I see that Facebook is not working so well in terms of connecting with readers. Facebook is a dying platform. That's what I believe. So now mostly we use Facebook for connecting with family and friends and stuff like that. So this is it. This is the lowdown of the 3 platforms and how the books work there.
So since I'm short of time and I've got a disclaimer saying that I have only 2 minutes, 30 seconds, a minute back. So my last question to both of you is that how can we help developing the reading habit again? Because at the end of the day, it's the habit. Social media is just an excuse when we are saying that, social media is impacting it in a negative way or, a distraction. But this habit has to be developed over the period of time, from the time when you're a kid. So what are your point of views and takes? How can one develop this habit and continue being a reader?
Well, see, one thing is that you cannot really campaign for reading. You can't take out a rally that people should read. So you have to appeal to them. So the only way I see is to connect with the people more, to talk, to write about things that they are interested in, rather than writing about, the old timer thing when I will do what I want to and I don't care as an artist whether people connect with me or not, and becoming that elite class of writer where, you write something which becomes maybe a cult classic at some point of time, but does not get mass appeal. Personally, I feel you have to create mass appeal instead of going into the elitist mood. So write simple things, write about topics which they like, write about current issues in a different way. That is what, I try to do as a writer, and it works pretty well. You get people interested in reading the only way is by appealing to their readership, their reading abilities, understand the attention deficit, try to, get them interested within the first paragraph rather than writing a 1-page thing about, whatever random things and then getting to the topic. Start at the start. That's how you probably get there. that's how you improve on readership. How else can we do it?
I'll keep this very short. Tell fantastic stories, because that is what people are finally wanting to read. Secondly, take your book and consider it as a product package. Package it well, because on social media, the cover really matters. The blurb matters. The language matters, because that is what the people are going to see in the preview. Thirdly, engage with your audience on social media, everywhere, on every platform. It really matters. And fourth, and the most important thing is that keep your book out and do not talk about your book all the time. Do not spam your audience with your book. So come across as a good personality, and that is what people will love to see you as on social media. Thank you so much. I really love this talk. Phoenix Literature Festival. Shweta, Darshan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil and Darshan, for being a part. Thank you, Rahul, for making me a part, because there's so much that I have learned, and there's so much that we are trying to tell the readers out there. We made our appeal just before we exit that please read. And thank you so much for being a part of this day 5. And let's continue writing and reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It was great. Goodbye.
All right. Thank you so much, Shweta Rohira and the panel, for touch basing upon such an extremely relevant topic with such finesse. Now, people, audience time. Now you tell me, what is your idea of romance? Yes, the taboo topic in literature events generally. Okay, so let's quick chat, waste of time. Okay, that's not a good start. I'm looking for something positive. Thoroughly enjoyed the session. Okay, that's nice. But something about romance. Come on, what do you think about romance? Candlelight dinners, walk by the beach, anything that you can relate to romance. Like Shah Rukh Khan or superficial. Oh my God, somebody's not in a good mood. Okay, come on, people. No one on romance. No one wants to talk about romance right now. So how many of you like Shah Rukh Khan? Okay, tell me the other way around. Now it's just going around the bush there.
Hey, Shah Rukh Khan is not the epitome of romance, just FYI.
Not epitome of romance, but he is considered the king of romance, isn't it?
He's considered the king of Bollywood.
We could start with Mr. Darcy.
I could not get you, Aarti.
I said he's considered the king of Bollywood, and rightly so.
Okay. So have another take on Shah Rukh Khan. I'm sure Shah Rukh Khan was not very pleased. So in case he's watching us today, okay, please excuse us, and it's all Aarti's fault, not mine. Okay, now tell me something about villains. Okay, let's now come about villains. Like who's your favorite Bollywood villain or something? Now, okay, I can get those answers, isn't it? His favorite Bollywood villains. Mogambo Kushwa. Okay, that's nice. Prem Chopra. Naam hai Prem Chopra. Okay, keep it coming, people. Pran, okay? Pran, Prem Chopra, Mogambo.
How many from the 21st century? Can we get somebody from the 21st century?
Danny, Ajit. Okay, yes. Kiran. Okay. Shah Rukh Khan is making his way into a villain over here. Kiran, okay. All right, but as majority of you might agree that sometimes it's not just people, it's situations that play villain in lives. And I very well relate to a situation not very well relate to, but I can quote that situation, like in Hum Aapke Hai Kaun, the situation became the villain, right? So what I'm trying to tell you here is that it's very critical. A villain is very critical for any story, for that matter. Okay, so as they say, there's no beauty without ugliness, and there's no wisdom without foolishness. A conflict is akin to any story, be it a life-altering personal story, as in Toastmasters, or in a romantic story. Now let's hear it out from our esteemed panelists, Vani Kaushal, Sujata Prashar, RTV today, who will be moderated by Riya Sharma. Now, Riya Sharma is a young writer, a poet, and an artist.